I'm Rebecca Keegan for Time.com with Los Angeles Sparks player Candace Parker, who is taking questions from Time readers. Our first question comes from Dan Sutton in Toronto. Do you ever play your older brother, Toronto Raptor Anthony Parker, or husband Sheldon Williams of the Minnesota Timberwolves in one-on-one? Even better, have you dunked on them?
My brother and I are so far apart. He's 11 years older than me. He's the best shooter I've ever seen in my life, so he would probably beat me hands down. But we haven't really played. Sheldon and I don't play because we are so competitive, we probably would hurt each other. We are super competitive, whether it's, we'll do agility or something like that together, and if it's crossing the finish line, we're pushing each other to cross the finish line, things like that. So we're too competitive, and we thought for the sake of our daughter, we wouldn't play each other in one-on-one.
This one is from Luke Denker in Belton, Missouri. Do you think they should create co-ed league sports on a professional level?
I really don't feel like we could play, especially in basketball, in a professional league with men. I think it's great that young girls have a WNBA to look up to now, and I think that we're continuing to make strides forward.
When do you think the salaries of professional female players will begin to approach the average salaries of male players?
We're still starting off, from the ground up, like the NBA did back, in the 50s when their salaries weren't, extravagant like they are today. I think eventually, women will get to that point where, and maybe in my daughter's generation, they'll get to that point where their salaries will be similar.
You mentioned your daughter, which is probably the biggest thing going on in your life right now, so let's get to some of the questions that have to do with her. The first one comes from Brenda Goodman in Johnson City, Tennessee, who asks, how are you doing with the new baby? Has Pat, she's talking about Pat Summitt, started recruiting her yet?
Well, when I first told Coach Summitt that I was pregnant, she was like, where can we send the papers? Like, we can send the papers, you can sign them, she'll be signed, sealed, and delivered to Tennessee. I had to remind her that my husband went to Duke, so he's pushing for Duke. But I'm doing great. My baby is growing every day. She's the joy in my life. She brings smiles to me every day. And obviously I'm suffering through lack of sleep every night, but it truly is a blessing to be a mother.
From Emily Johnston in Maryville, Tennessee. She asks, how hard is it coming back to the WNBA after a pregnancy?
Well, I'm not sure. I just from talking to my teammates that have done it, Tina Thompson came back in the same season that she delivered her son. And Lisa Leslie waited a year. She sat out a year and came back the next year. And they're still at the top of their game. So I don't think it's going to be easy by any means, but I think that it's possible to do, and it's possible to get back to where you were and to be better than you were.
Do you think the women's game will ever get the same attention as men in terms of ticket sales?
I don't know. That's a good question. Like I said, with the WNBA being so young and, the NBA having such a head start, obviously I don't think, and I'd be lying if I said that women eventually are going to be as big and fast and strong and, can do all these things. No, that's not going to happen. But we do have our own niche and we can play basketball. And I feel like, our league is going to be around for a long, long time, and our ticket sales are going to go up and our popularity is going to grow. And, eventually it might be more equal.
This one's from Hernan Gonzalez in Orlando, who asks, what do you believe is your responsibility to young women coming up in sports?
Continue to grow women's basketball. Allow girls to have the same opportunities that I have had. I was literally like the first generation that could look up to female athletes as role models, and to say that that's what I want to do when I grow up is play, sports or go to college, get a scholarship and play basketball.
Who were the female athletes that you looked up to?
I was a humongous Mia Hamm fan.
Yeah.
She was pretty, she played sports, she was personable. So, that's what I hope to be.
This question comes from Minessa Khan in Jamaica, New York. She asks, growing up playing basketball, did you ever have to deal with negative or sexist comments?
When I would go to those parks and play with those guys, maybe initially they would be like, she's a girl, she can't play. But then the next time they were picking me first on their team. So, I would just let my actions do the talking. That's my biggest advice. Just go out there and just play. Let your actions speak for themselves, and don't worry about what everybody else is saying. Just concentrate on playing basketball and embrace being a woman and being in sports.